Hey there, and welcome to That's Audacious, where we share entrepreneurial stories from amazing leaders to inspire and motivate you to be bold, brave, and audacious. I'm your host, Lauren Clement, the brand navigator, here to share stories that will make you say, well, that's audacious. Hello and welcome to another episode of the That's Audacious podcast. I have an extraordinary guest with us here today, the fabulous Adam from I Love Coaching. And in the name of that, you'll already know exactly what he is so extraordinarily good at. Adam Roach was initially a multiple business owner, a tennis player, which I would love talking to him about, given my husband's love for pickleball. And we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But he got into all sorts of businesses, including real estate, SaaS, and of course, coaching. And he basically discovered that you need to have that authenticity around what you're doing if you want to be a coach. And he established a brand new methodology called his Real approach. It helps coaches move from uncertainty to ownership. He's known for challenging high performers to stop building inside borrowed systems to start building businesses they truly own. And having your own IP as a coach, so important. I can't wait to dig into this today. Adam focuses on clarity, leverage, and helping coaches grow without adding more complexity, more hours, or sacrificing the life they've worked so hard to create. Adam, it's extraordinary to have you on the show today. Give us a little bit of your background. I want to know everything about what you've done and what you've been doing to get to where you are now as a leader of coaches.
Lauren, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. We're going to have a lot of fun. I have no doubt your energy is contagious, and man, this is going to be fun. So who am I? Where am I from? What have I done? And how did I get to where I am today? I'm a simple guy. I'm from Indiana, here in the States. My father was an Olympic swim coach. My grandfather and great-grandfather were farmers in Indiana. And so I got to watch hard work growing up, right? I got to watch my grandfather and grandmother on the farm, 2,000 plus acres and corn and soybean and cows and chickens. And I got to watch my dad on the pool deck, right? I got to watch him help and serve athletes. But I didn't know what that meant at the time, right? I was just watching dad. I wasn't catching coaching notes at the time. And I developed a passion for tennis. And so I started playing tennis. And my dad was not real happy because he wanted me to be an Olympic swimmer and I wanted to be an Olympic tennis player. So anyway, long story short, I played tennis in college and then went off to try to play professional tennis, as you said. And I found out real quick that I was an American, not a European or let's just put it this way. I was an American. I was getting beat. It was the 90s, right? And late 90s, early 2000s. And I got into the real estate business and the tennis business out in Southern California. And that was a lot of fun. And that was where I started to cut my teeth into coaching because I was teaching tennis. And then real estate was a neat new vertical that I'd never played in. And again, this was late 90s, early 2000s. And just was loving life. And then I realized that the tennis business was finite. And there was only so many courts and so many hours, and that revenue would cap. But real estate didn't seem to have a cap because they were always building more houses. And so I did get into traditional real estate in Los Angeles and Beverly Hills. And then I thought, no, I don't want to sell houses. I want to be the one that the agents come to so that they can sell all the houses and I can just run the business, which I did. So I started buying real estate franchises and I did that successfully for nearly 10 years. Sold them all in 2019 when my father passed from Parkinson's related issues. And that's when I share with you offline that my dear mentor and coach, John Maxwell, laid upon me the question that changed everything. And he said, Adam, when are you going to stop chasing success and start building significance? And I didn't really understand what he meant. I understood contextually, but I didn't know what he meant because I was impacting a lot of people. I had a SaaS business that was growing. I had real estate businesses that were growing. But Lauren, here was the kicker. I was chasing notoriety. I was chasing dollars. I was chasing everything that had to do with that person in the mirror and not the people right in front of me. And I can honestly say that out loud now. It took a while, but I can do it now. And when I was speaking the eulogy at my dad's funeral, I looked out over the audience and I saw 400 or 500 people there. I saw athletes. I saw coaches. I saw family members. I saw a lot of people. And this man came up to me afterwards and he had an old school cassette tape. Remember the rectangle ones? You put the tape in, you push it down, you push play, right? Some of our listeners won't even know what we're talking about, but you and I know what that is. And he showed me 4 tapes. And all it said was my dad's name and a time. Now, this man swam the breaststroke. Breaststroke, you go up, you go down, you go up, you go down. And then he pushed play. And it was just my dad's voice saying, go, go, go. He put another one in, and it was faster. Go, go, go. And these were cadences. And the guy said, I knew that if I could hear your dad's voice every time I came up, I was going to get that time. And he says, to this day, I still use those as I train my athletes right now. And he said, I haven't swam for your dad in 27 years. And I thought, wow, I'm getting goosebumps telling the story. And so it hit me like a ton of bricks. That's why I was like, whoa, that's what significance is. My dad's no longer here, and yet he's still having an impact on people that will never know him. What am I doing? I could walk through these halls and I don't know anybody's name, but they knew mine. But that's not significance. And so that's when I sold everything. And I sunsetted the SaaS model. And we call it the beach chair moment. I sat at the beach chair and I just thought about it. I prayed, I journaled, and I cried. I kept sunscreen on my bald head. And that's when I decided to step into a place of serving people. And that was, I wanted to serve coaches because I had coached coaches before in the past. And so now here we are 6 years later, and we've been blessed to serve coaches on 4 different continents now. One of them being close to you in New Zealand.
I love it. What a story, Adam. That whole shift, that mindset shift from success to significance is such an extraordinary moment. Do you think that's why the coaching industry really struggles with this? Because anyone can call themselves a coach,
yes,
right? They can take anybody's model and learn it and then spit it out at verbatim and whatever.
Yep.
Because the real coaches, and it's funny because your whole process is real, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
The ones who have the most impact, who have that legacy, who create that significance in other people's lives, have created something of their own. Mm-hmm. What's been your observation of the coaching industry over the years that you've been involved with it, and where it's headed now, especially with AI and that ability to just copy and paste?
Yeah, great question. So here's what I love about the coaching industry. When you find real coaches, right, and we'll talk about what that acronym really means. When you find real coaches, here's what they are. They're relevant, they're experiential, they're authentic, and they're leaders, right? That's what real stands for in our world. But let's define what a leader is. A leader is an influencer. What's an influencer? An influencer is someone that can get someone to take action. So I've had good coaches, I've had bad coaches, I've had real coaches personally, and I've had not so real coaches. But what does that even really mean? Here's what that means. And our world is flooded with it right now. When you go on any social media, I can coach, I can coach, I can coach. Okay, maybe you can. That's fantastic. I hope you can. But let's talk about that word leadership, right? Let's really talk about that word leadership. Leadership is influencing someone to actually get a little bit, whether it's uncomfortable, get a little bit out of their comfort zone and have an impact in their life that is has significance to themselves. I think in our world right now, we have a bunch of people that are on the social media platforms, and I'll just keep using that channel as an example, that are showing people how-tos, right? I think how-tos are good. But the problem with how-tos is people get into these how-tos and they think that they can build their authority in someone else's container, in someone else's how-to. And then they get to a point in their time like, oh my gosh, I'm having success. I'm generating revenue. I have clients. What's next? How do I go do something next? Because they don't have they go from a how-to, but what they should learn is how you, right? How you did something, right? How did you do something that you can start to build that is yours specifically and not some borrowed authority? If you can't identify your authority, how can you authentically lead someone else? If you're regurgitating someone else's authority, you will find you become either a dead end or a cul-de-sac. Because it's like, uh-oh, I'm stuck in this now. How do I get out? And that's not really what we want in a coach, right? We want a coach who is relevant, experiential, authentic, and leaders in their own unique space. That's my opinion, right? The other opinion I have in this space is I don't believe in certifications. I don't believe in certifications to build a business. I believe certifications are good to build your education and your knowledge as a coach. But if you're going to get a certification for it to help you build your business, you're going to fail. I'm sorry, you're going to fail because that certification is not what's going to get you clients. What's going to get you clients is you being real.
Adam, this is enlightening and if somebody's listening who's a coach and probably going, yeah, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. What we're talking about is codifying your lived experience, your knowledge, your expertise, your passion for helping others. I love that, going deeper than just creating a bunch of how-tos. It's more a why, right? It's right. Why? Why should I even do this? What do you do that's unique or different to help people codify this into their own IP?
Well, let me back up. Why did I create a community, right? Because I believe in transformation. I really do. But here's what I know in the coaching lane right now, and I'm going to answer the question how to with a little more rounded answer. Coaches build in isolation, right? Coaches build in isolation. We have our own little unique spots. We aren't usually around other people. I mean, 2020, the COVID era shut us all in, and some of us are still in, right? I believe in transformation. Now, transformation has three approaches. Number one, to transform, you have to show up in humility. You got to show up with humility, right? And what does that even really mean? Well, I can show up humble. No. I don't want you to show up humble because I want you to have a little bit of an edge, but I want you to show up and share your mess. Show up and share where you are a mess. A community helps that. If you're in isolation, being a spiritual guy, I believe that the enemy can come in up here. And guess what? That is not cool. And then guess what is not even cooler is when you start to believe those thoughts. That's a problem, right? Now, transformation starts with humility. Transformation thrives in a community. And I believe that wholeheartedly. If I see you, I get to lean into you, you get to lean into me, we get to help each other. And then lastly, transformation inspires transformation. When I watch Lauren show up, when I can come and listen to her and I can actually watch her coach or do some successes or whatever it may be, I want to do the same thing. I want to have success. So I'm going to lean into that. But if we build in isolation, right? If we build in isolation, these thoughts up here, you're right. That's all I'm going to say. These thoughts up here, you're right, which is probably why you've hit a ceiling right now. So how do we help them? What do we do differently? Number one, we've created a community for these coaches to show up and be real. We've created a community that I like to say this, and I don't mean it in an arrogant way, but I also like for coaches to share their successes and their wins and their significance. So we say, you don't have to apologize for being a badass in that community, right? You don't have to apologize. And wins don't have to be huge, and successes don't have to be huge. They can be this big, right? But share them, right? Share them. You don't have to apologize. Share them. So that's number one. What do we do differently? I believe that having a community allows people to transform faster. And then on the flip side of that, people also need content. What does content mean? People need content and models and frameworks, right? So great, Adam. You just said how-tos are no good because it should be a how-you. That's right. But mine is more of a framework to follow that you get to expose what is yours, not mine, right? This is just framework, right? You have a book. It is all about, I think you said True North or North Star, right? What is your North Star? Where are you growing to? I don't believe in whys. I believe in a North Star, and then I believe in who's, right? Show me where you want to go. Tell me where you want to go. Show me the who's that are helping you get there. Why is an internal thing, a North Star an external thing. And at the end of the day, it does start with who, in my opinion, not a why.
Yeah, I love it. Adam, one of the things you talked about just now was coming at coaching from a place where it's not necessarily humility, but or being humble, but it's being almost the opposite of what you would expect. So most people go to a coach for answers because a coach has all the answers.
Sure.
That's the opinion that most people have, or the myth, if you like. Whereas what you're saying is, as a coach, it's not your job to give people answers. It's your job to help them find the answers that they need, rather than particularly steering them in a direction that you think they need to go in. How does your process of finding your IP as a coach enable people to not just be led, but to find their way through to get that, rather than coming to you and being given all the answers?
Well, I do believe, and this is also a good little tip for personal stuff too. So my wife and I are both alpha-oriented people, very masculine oriented. Go get stuff done, right? A to Z means now, right? Not later. Let's just go get it done now. And before we got married, I did hire a relationship coach. I was like, hey, I need help in this space. I've been married once before. I really screwed that up. I need to get this right the second time. And I hired a relationship coach, and I brought Dana, my wife, into it. And he said, hey, I just want to let you know, I want to expose something here, that you're both alpha, you're both going to drive, and somebody's going to have to lead. Okay. And you could create friction there. So someone's going to have to lead. Okay. What's that have to do with coaching? So we developed this system that I now have employed into the Real Coach Blueprint. And that is this. And we use this all the time. So every Thursday we have a community call. The community call, I'll come in and I'll teach something for 15, 20, 30 minutes. Then my integrator will teach something. Maybe next week I'll do a member spotlight and so on and so forth. But here's the thing that we get to do that is so fun. We get to have a corner, I call it the Coach's Corner, where coaches get to show up and share their challenges, share their opportunities, share where they need help. And I call it the coaches coaching the coaches, right? Coaches coaching the coaches. But here's the question that they have to ask. If you come into the Coach's Corner and you say, hey, I have a question around this, I have to ask you this question first. And it goes like this. Lauren, thanks for sharing. Do you want me to feel that or fix that? Because sometimes, I don't care if you're an alpha, I don't care if you're not an alpha, I don't care if you're masculine, feminine energy, I don't care if you're a coach, we have to listen first. Lauren, do you want me to feel that? Pause or fix it. Because sometimes coaches do have the answers and sometimes coaches should give the answers. But sometimes we also need to listen. And so if you say, I want you just to feel it, great, felt it. What would you like for me to do with it? Right? Well, I want some help in this space. Great. What specific help would you like? Okay. And so that simple way of asking questions, I believe there's a question pyramid. And the question pyramid is ranked from lowest to highest. Powerful way to ask questions. The weakest way to ask a question of someone is to ask a why. And a why-based question is going to evoke emotion, usually a negative emotion. Lauren, why didn't you make your bed this morning? Negative emotion, right? Defensive emotion. Why didn't you? Why? We know what that feels like, right? The next question up in the rung, which is a little more powerful, but not very powerful, is a how. A how-based question is going to start to instill a process-oriented question. How'd you make your bed? Okay. Well, first I pulled this sheet up, then I pulled that sheet up, and then I put the pillows on, and we're good. Great. Okay, cool. As you're a coach, you can listen to the process there through the question of how. The next question, which is one of my favorites, is a what. And when you add the word specifically after what, it narrows the brain searching for the answer. What specifically did you do to make your bed? And when they answer that question, the fun part is
oh, Adam, I seem to have lost your sound. Maybe we've got an issue with your son coming in the windows.
What about now? Test.
Yep, got it now. Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Okay, so back to the what. The what is when you put the word specifically in there, it's going to narrow the brain. Now, here comes the most powerful question you can ask. Most powerful question you can ask is who? Who taught you to make your bed that way? Now you're going to get to the source of why they probably have that problem. You're going to get to a source of something that they didn't even think about. So back to your original question. The original question was, do you lead them or do you answer their question? You do both. When I coach coaches, I do the exact same thing, do the both. And when we do the Coach's Corner, they have to start with that question. Lauren, do you want me to feel this or fix this? And that's our culture inside the community.
I love it. I love it. If you're a coach and you're sitting there thinking, this is extraordinary, I need to be part of this, the links to everything that Adam does will be available on the video and on the podcast. You are listening to the That's Audacious podcast. If you like what you're hearing, there are plenty of other episodes just like this one, and you can like and subscribe and know when the next ones are coming out. Adam, one thing I want to talk about now is the fact that you are helping others to create their own IP as coaches and build their profiles and so on. As you know, at the Audacious Agency, we help people enter, win and leverage awards to grow their profiles. And we were talking briefly before we started recording about how people's IP can actually become award winning, which is really cool. But what I want to know is, how did you build your profile as a leader in this space? And what are you doing to really elevate that so that you are creating a bit more of an influence to attract the right people to your business and to what you're doing?
Yeah, great question. So let's go through. So I've got two things I want to share here. The first thing is what I've developed called the Trust Ledger. Trust Ledger looks like this. When anyone, right, well, let's just say in the coach's lane, when a coach has an offer to offer, right, whether that's a one-to-one or a one-to-many, and they don't have the conversion rate they want, my very first question to them is, how many deposits have you made into that person before you made a withdrawal? A withdrawal is an ask, right? A withdrawal is, will you come? Will you join? Ask, will you send me a referral? That's a withdrawal. Now, I have a cousin who's a comedian, and he had this old bit, which I love to use when I'm giving this keynote, is he would say, well, the bank called me the other day. And the bank said, well, Mr. Bodart, we just want to let you know that your account is outstanding. And he said, well, that's nice. No one ever tells me that my stuff is outstanding. That's fantastic. And they said, no, what are you talking about? Well, you don't have any money. He said, that's not true. I've got 6 checks left, right? And we have a tendency to do that in our coaching world, is ask for withdrawals before we've made deposits. So that's one of the IPs that I've created, is I want to know, and I want you to show me, how many deposits are you making in an intentional way? Well, Adam, who do I make deposits with? Your database should be broken up into 4 categories. Unknown, don't know. Known, no, but they don't engage, right? They don't really know what I'm doing. Like, okay, now they're engaging with me. I'm having conversations. Trust. Trust is where they will spend money with you because of whatever payoff you've defined in there that aligns with them, that works. Now, let's go to the categories of where trust is built the least to the most. And we call these channels. So we have a methodology that we follow when we're helping coaches build their business, and this is what we call the trust channel. The lowest trust building mechanism out there is ads. Ads don't build trust. They just create exposure. And a lot of times your conversion rates on those are going to be really, really, really small. Now, some people have massive success. But I was just talking with someone the other day. They spend $30,000 a month on ads. $30,000 a month on ads. Yeah, get out of here. $360,000 a year, forget it. And they converted 4 people. Yeah, converted 4 people. So trust ads, don't get me wrong, ads are okay if they work in your business, but they're a low trust builder. What comes next? After that comes newsletters and blogs. Now, I love newsletters and blogs, but here's what we have to remember. For you to build trust, it's either a Stanford or Harvard study, I don't remember which amazing school it was, said you have to have 48 minutes of engagement with someone to build trust. To go from a known to a trust, roughly 48 minutes. So newsletters and blogs are low on the trust builder because it takes 30 seconds to read them. It takes a minute to read them. All right, let's keep going. Social media. Social media in the form of Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat is a low trust builder, and here's why, because it can be edited. Now, also, let's talk about Instagram. If you're in the 1 percentile in Instagram on Reels, do you know how long someone watches you? 9 seconds. Okay, let's go back to that 48 minutes, right? 48 minutes is going to come really slow if you're in the 1 percentile. Okay, let's keep going. After that, after social media, we start to build trust. And that comes to podcasts. Podcasts are great. Podcasts are good. Why? Because we get to be in someone's ear, and maybe if they're visual, in someone's face for a good 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You're not Joe Rogan, so don't go for 2 hours, right? Just for a short period of time. And that's good because we're getting close to the 48 minutes. Okay, let's keep going. After that comes YouTube. Why is YouTube better than podcasts? Simply because YouTubes are visual. They can see you. They can experience you. They can see that you're not edited, and that's good. Let's go to the last two. Live on social media is the second highest. Why? Because you are authentic, because you're being yourself, because they can hear you and experience you. You want the highest trust builder out there to convert at the highest? Get up on a stage. Get up on a stage. That is the highest trust building mechanism out there. Get up on a stage, share your authority, share your knowledge and your IP, and solve the problem for the people that are in the audience, whatever that is. Right? So you better know what type of event you're going to be speaking at, because if you go to an event that's filled with veterinarians and they like dogs and you're talking about corn and soybean, it ain't going to land, right? So that you have to understand when you're up on a stage. Here's why I love to coach the coaches. I've helped coaches get on TED Talks. I've helped coaches get on all kinds of stages. When you're on stage, and if you're using borrowed authority, here's what you got to remember. You're still the authority of that borrowed authority. Because if it's coming out of your mouth, first of all, you better give recognition where it's due. Don't steal stuff. And you are the author of it. When you are the author of something, you become the authority of it. But if you have your own IP and you're up on that stage, man, you will convert much faster because you're building trust.
Love it. Love it. And it is, we talk about it in the Audacious Agency as branding by association. Yeah, just being part of that world, being on stages, you know, being part. One of the big stages we love, of course, is the Stevie Awards in the States. We go to New York every November for the Stevie Awards for women in business. And guess what? All of our people get to go up on stage for 30 seconds to give an acceptance speech that's professionally videoed. And all of a sudden, just the fact that you're there amongst those awards. And I've spoken to people who've, you know, created amazing deals and opened doors and had huge opportunities. They didn't win. They would just happen to be at the awards event. And that was that association with that authority. Yep. I love it, Adam. We are at the end of our time, but I have the same question I have for everybody who comes on the podcast that I'd like you to answer before we wrap up. Adam, if you could go back in time to any part of your life to give yourself some advice for where you are today, what would that be?
Great question. Where would I go? That's a really good one. That's a really. Okay, so I love being a dad. My son just turned 18. My daughter will turn 16 in 13 days. And this is out of the coaching space, but I would tell myself not to be afraid to be a dad. Right? It has been the most rewarding God-given blessing ever, right? It is watching them grow, watching them develop, watching them fail, watching them have trials and tribulations. They both go to a tennis academy here in Charleston. I didn't put them in that space. They wanted to do that, which was kind of fun. And I get to be dad in there. But I love being a dad. I would trade everything to be a dad. I mean, all over again. So I would tell myself when my wife was pregnant, I was nervous, I was scared. I would go back and say, you're going to be just fine. You're actually going to love this more than you love everything else. And that's it.
Brilliant. I love it. Being real. It's so awesome. If you have been listening to this conversation thinking, Adam is amazing, he's got some incredible thought leadership, but he has what I need as a coach to really get further than where I am at the moment. If you're getting into coaching, or if you're an existing coach and you just want to create your own IP and build your profile, please get in touch with Adam. His contact details will be on the bottom of this podcast. Adam, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's extraordinary what you can do as a coach and the impact and influence you can have and the transformation on other people's lives. And that's what we're all about here at the Audacious Agency. It's about understanding that you have amazing gifts and talents that the world needs. needs, and you do deserve to be well known, well paid, and wanted. Thank you so much for being on the show. And if you're listening to the podcast and you want to know more about other episodes, please follow us on your favorite channel. Cheers for now. Thanks so much for listening to the That's Audacious podcast. Remember, there's no place for modesty in business, and you do deserve to be well known, well paid, and wanted. For more episodes, please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite channel or follow us online. The links are in the description below.